double AD carry composition.
See how LNG want to round out their composition. A little shout out to Captain Flowers here. They are hovering on it a little bit. We won't talk about it until everything's locked in. And there is the Xin Zhao. Yeah, you see, you don't. I broke the cardinal rule. You don't talk about hovers.
Talk about them.
You just don't. You just don't. But 3 birds, 1 stone coming out here for LNG as they get themselves the Azir, the Xayah Rakan, of course, as well. They've got themselves a fairly, obvious front to back. They've got decent engage options. They've got ways of kind of keeping themselves safe, but also massive scaling with that Azir and Xayah. And on the other side, I mean, massive amounts of damage, but great safety from the Tam Kenjin as well with the Buster Shot from the Tristana.
Yeah, so there's some good disengage, which is going to stop LNG's front line being able to get as easy access to the back line. It's going to be a tale of engages, and it's going to be a tale of the big ultimates which come out onto the table first. If you have a great equalizer and a great Rel ultimate onto the back line, I'm not going to lie, I don't even think you need the center and the Tristana there to finish off those kills. The engage has so much damage onto Xayah and Azir that they could just get popped before the fight is even determined. On the other side, though, I love the ability to engage from range from the side of LNG as well. That Ornn being able to call the Forge God across multiple walls sometimes in cases too can be very, very important. Both of these teams have ways to start fights on their own terms.
Good engage, good scaling options, and good big potential, I would say, from either side as well. You get some decent crash downs coming in here, of course, with the Magnet Storm. Be able to kind of bring everybody in. I wouldn't be surprised to see a couple of dives maybe go the way of JDG if they do go look for that avenue, but we are going to stop hypothesizing, stop theorizing, and look to see what the results will really be. Big moment here for both these sides. JDG still looking to maintain their unbeaten streak and looking to continue their legacy building year that was 2023. It didn't end in a fairy tale. A little bit of a nightmare with them dropping out at the semi-finals after so much expectations, and they're looking to rebuild from that. LNG didn't even make it to semi-finals. They got knocked out in the quarters, and that is exactly where they want to try and bring themselves back to redeem themselves later on the year. Still a lot of League of Legends, though, between Worlds and now to really feel how these teams are going to go.
Absolutely. But then coming back into LPL, back into Regions. Remember, JDG, they three-peated the LPL. They have now got 3 titles back to back to back. Now, Coach Hom has parted ways with the team. I think he's taking a break to spend time with a newborn. But they have picked up Coach Martha, who coached Gen G to a 3-peat of the LCK. The 3P LPL team joined by the 3P LCK coach. This team, even though we feel like it's not at the same level as the super team of 2023, has an awful lot of pedigree to live up to.
And expectations, that intangible pressure that gets put onto you to just perform, to make it worth it. And I think as well, you're looking at Ruler and expecting so much from this guy, rightfully so, because he is just, I would argue, still one of, if not the best AD carry in the world. Still an absolutely phenomenal talent. And as you mentioned, the super team they had last year, they lost 1 best of 5. Unfortunately, it was one of the most important best of 5s to lose, and it was the semi-finals. So these are the pressures and the expectations that we see from these guys, and he will be putting those on himself as well. So we'll see if he can continue on that winning way within the LPL domestically. Came in, of course, 1-2 back-to-back.
Speaking of that, kind of how much he can do as this best AD carry kind of moniker within the LPL, picked up the double Dorans for the laning phase. That's why you see them trading very aggressively beyond the wave. Every lane from JDG trading very aggressively. This means that Kanavi needs to get eyes on WeiWei whenever possible. There's 1 ward onto the Raptors who spot him out there. He's now going to be spotted in bot river. Jungle information is going to be very important. That's a double knock-up.
That is a double knock-up and ignite. Gala flashes away, has got the heal, the ghost and the flash to keep him alive. Had a little bit of a pot to keep him going. WeiWei now going to be in a smite fight, loses that one out to Kanavi. And they're all going to have to back away. I mean, you can't really stay here for too long as LNG. You're going to get dove. I imagine because of the health bar difference, you're not really in a position to look for this.
I don't think you can dive the bot lane, but the fight towards bot side was mainly just to stop Gala and Mark being able to respond to the bot side play. BLG have showed this as well. This is how LPL has been playing, particularly blue side aggressive bot lanes. You walk into the enemy blue buff after you've taken your red buff for the fighting potential, and even if you don't look for a dive in bot side, you can look in towards bot side jungle as well. We've seen this all the way back from 2022 with the Kalista. Oh, Yagao, buddy, that's not a time to jump in.
He's fine for the moment. I don't think Scout really had much kill pressure given his health bar, but yeah, we've had a couple of moments so far this split, with Yagao having maybe some lapses in judgment, as we can see in the top side there. Flandre just kind of showing what this lane is going to be pretty much for the first 15 minutes of the game. Going to be able to push in, going to be able to get the priority, and constantly be able to keep out this pressure. Do they look for a dive? It would be difficult to say the least, even with a TP back to lane. And yeah, Kanavi just going to be fine to clear out the top side of his camps and just keep up this momentum, keep up this pressure.
Yeah, so this is the style of play which we've, again, I think really the team which popularized this was T1 when they, of course, when they won Worlds, and they went through a lot of LPL teams to do that. 3 pushing lanes, aggressive jungler that can, even if they're not dueling the enemy jungler, keep track of them and make sure that they can't punish the pushing lanes in return. That's exactly what JDG are doing right here. They need to keep vision up, and that's exactly what they've done. Look at the replaced ward on the Raptors. Look at the ward just into the pixel brush at the top of the river as well. I know it's not the proper pixel brush, but the top lane river brush. JDG, they are giving their lanes enough vision to continually play aggressively.
Just constant harassment as well, just having full lane priority effectively at all points. Kanavi now gonna get the crash down Ferromancy. WeiWei hasn't actually spotted him, I don't think. I don't think either jungler knows they're there. And no, it's gonna be a free take on the camp. But now Kanavi's gonna know that WeiWei is here.
So this is the thing, you don't see the actual pop-up unless you press tab and see the amount of grubs going down. He might have done that, just checks them over either way. Either way, WeiWei has been spotted out an awful lot, but at least gets something back.
Good feather call. Try and make this one work. A heal has to come out. Actually, it's Ruler putting that one out, excuse me, to get something going. The knock-up down onto Gala, who's still without a flash. Knock-up back going onto Missing, who is starting to get a little bit of damage put down on top of his face, but Yagao did TP bot. I'm not sure if they thought maybe there was a roam. Interesting decision.
So I think Yagao... Look, okay, you know what? I'm not going to try and rationalize that.
Yeah.
Sometimes when you're on a base, you just look to see if there's a place you can be in just in case. He's going to lose a cannon for this, though, which is a little bit annoying. So, whatever. Not going to be the biggest gain for that teleport ever. Scout on the other side doing completely fine in this laning phase, but Yagao's picked himself up a cult. It's not like he's losing too much value.
Andre very scared right there of maybe getting caught out, so drop the equalizer to thin out the wave, and that's going to be the Horn to react. And ooh, okay, what's going on? What's going on, guys? What's happening here? I feel like this isn't what we expect or what we would be anticipating from what we've just hyped up to everyone listening as probably two of our top 4 teams going at each other.
Okay, they get one of those. So, oh my gosh, every player gets like 1 free oopsie. This is Yagao's top lane.
Is that per series? Because Yagao already used his last week.
Well, okay, but I wasn't casting that one, so I didn't get to call that one
That's
out.
Fair.
Okay,
That's fair.
True. Actually, that was really Yagao, you've had your oopsie, what are you doing?
Yeah.
He has to borrow Kanavi or Ruler or Missing. One of those 3 now. They get to, like, give it over for free.
You're in debt of oopsies on the LPL broadcast. Yeah. And that's 2 Sundays as well. Maybe Sunday's just a weird day. Weird day to be setting that up, but we'll come back. We digress, of course. There's not really a lot to happen. JDG just happy to keep putting down the pressure. They've got a little bit of a goal lead, nothing too much to be writing home about. LNG happy to be farming up. You can even see the coal being stacked by Gala, or rather anti-stacked, as he tries to build that one up towards the 100 mark. And we just chill. You know, there's not really a lot to do with the Horn and the equalizer down top side. I don't really expect to see much action there. Kanavi's just decided these are my chickens, and there's not really a lot you can do about it. WeiWei says, no, I want the big chicken nugget. And that's all they can do. Scout! Whoa, he's taking a lot of damage. I didn't even realize how completely on the opposite side he was. Now Yagao caught between a rock and a hard place, doesn't want to use his flash, and Scout might just be able to get out of this one here, or even straight up just execute, knowing that no one's even chasing him. But he will end up getting away from this. He's going to be able to recall, I think. No, he's going to go for the execute. He doesn't know no one's coming for him, but still, no kills technically on the board.
Just wanted to make sure it had timed out enough, but still, Scout blows his ultimate, blows his flash. Yagao, I mean, we talked about it maybe being in terms of death of oopsies, causes a big one there for Scout, though. Big moment, and he's going to take some plates down with a bomb on tower, you presume.
JDG can use the fact that there was a death timer, there was no TP from Scout, turret plates, there was a dragon, there's priority bot, there's priority mid. This is just solid from JDG, to be perfectly honest. There's not really much else to say about it. And okay, Scout. That's why I got confused, because I was like, oh, Scout's fine, he's underneath his tower. And then as you rightly said, it wasn't his tower to be under.
Yeah, and then he just taps the E. For those of you that don't play Azir, if you press E, if you only have one soldier in range to go towards, it will always go to that regardless of where your cursor is. Maybe he thought he had another soldier up, maybe he thought he had another W and it wasn't, he didn't have a charge for it. Not exactly sure, we'll have to watch back from his perspective after that one's been and done. Either way, awkward moment, lucky to get out alive. JDG, they are keeping up the full court press. You can see that Kanavi continually keeping himself relevant. And the problem is with WeiWei losing out on quite a lot of early resources. I mean, he's up to level 7, to get me right. He's managed to catch up a little bit. Need to keep an eye on this. If WeiWei keeps getting denied too much, he won't be able to act as a front line in the same way that he needs to be as an initiation threat. Because that's the core of LNG's composition. It's the Ornn, the Xin Zhao, and it's the Rakan all finding their way into the important targets of JDG. If one of them is weak, that game plan becomes more difficult.
It was very, very difficult. It's coming up just under 1,000 gold lead, 10 minutes on the board. It's going to be a slow burner, I have a feeling, of a game. I don't think anyone's going to be fighting for anything too crazy. And of course, with the Grubs now up, you can get yourself up to a nice pallet of 5 for JDG. Make sure you are getting as much priority. And this will be great for them. Like we've talked about in the previous series, Grubs, the Void Grubs are fantastic if you can hit the tower. And this team has got the range to be able to hit the tower. We actually see it just completely pure lane kingdom at the moment for JDG. So having that extra little Void Might, having the extra little bit of damage could be huge. Equalizer coming back up in a second or two. So Flandre, without his flash for now, shouldn't be getting too much happening to him unless he walks forward right up into the clutches of WeiWei.
Well, we'll have to just keep track of that, because for once, he's been off of vision. It's one of the first times in the game where WeiWei has been off of vision. They might be able to force his ult with something like his flash rather with an Ornn combo. He has his ult as well.
So respectfully.
How much are they willing to commit to this?
He's playing so respectfully. We can see the little move as Flandre now realizes he's in a little bit of trouble. There goes the equalizer to try and trade this one back. The damage isn't exceptional, but the bounce house is. And that's first blood coming in here for LNG.
No teleport to get back to lane either, so that's going to be a full wave lost to turret. Kanavi's going to come to pick that up and make sure at least that plates aren't going to go down from the side of LNG, taking them as well. But still on the board for LNG, importantly so. Flandre felt like he did most of what he could there. Maybe he could have just equalized the wave and walked off, though. He didn't have full information, punished for it.
Really, really well done. Flandre now without his flash makes him another gankable target. Frozen Heart as a first item for missing is not something I've seen. Normally it is the Sunfire Aegis, but you know, we'll see what he's got to go for. It is a cheaper item for sure, but
so it's cheaper, and you look at the carries on the other side of LNG. Azir, no, he's not a marksman, but attack speed based. Of course the Xayah is as well. Xin Zhao likes to get a good amount of attacks in to stack the Q with the ability to get the knock-up after that point. Frozen Heart, very valuable item. I think for a first time as well, if you're diving into the enemy team, I think that makes a lot of sense.
The maths checks out, according to Nymera. I'll trust him with anything in this regard. He's obsessive with the numbers.
1,000 calculations per second, but they're all wrong.
Yes, I did a million scenarios, and how many do we win in? Just one, Frozen Heart. That's the only way it can work, but again, nothing really too untoward to be happening. A minute till Dragon, so we're going to get a couple of resets coming in. Another Frozen Heart. So this is clearly exactly as you said. This is very intentional coming out from JDG. Cheap items to get them right on the board and to get that kind of value out of it as soon as possible.
Well, it makes a lot of sense for a RAL. I know this has been a big conversation around itemization as well, for those of you that have tuned into the likes of LS and Dominate's thoughts on items. Typically, sitting on Barmy's Cinder is better than upgrading it to the full Barmy's item, because the extra damage you get from the completed item is far less valuable than getting one of the incredibly powerful tank items that are available right now. So Frozen Heart and Koenig Rukkan, they're two of the best ones on the table right now. I will say, double stacking Frozen Hearts from the side of JDG's front line, I don't know whether that's efficient, because if they're on the same target, you only get that passive activating once. but it's something to just consider in regards to where they're positioning and how many of those Frozen Heart debuffs they're going to get.
Oh, Scout getting jumped on here. Fair bit of damage on top of him. Buster shot used. WeiWei goes right in. I don't think that was the smartest of move. Never mind, he's going to go straight in, flash, try to get the crescent guard. Scout wasn't really prepared for that. A little bit of disconnect between WeiWei and Scout, because I feel like if you flash in for that knock-up and crescent guard, you're waiting for the Shurima shuffle.
I mean, maybe WeiWei sat there thinking, look, a worst chance, he doesn't press flash in time, we kind of check his hands or if they're on the keyboard, and you get something, you get a kill for free. Still gets the flash away, and now suddenly Yagao has to play without flash against the next Ornn ult of the game, potentially. So let's see if LNG can work with that. But Shinzao flash being down against the Buster Shot and against the center, that's going to make it very, very difficult to make the play. Mark's now falls from the fight.
For all the damage missing, we'll get all the shields in the world to heal. He's still ticking down, and Gala picks up his kill. Now they're going to look for the shuffle. That's what they were waiting for. Scout knew they didn't need to overcommit to the mid lane. They had all the tools available to them, and now LNG are starting to pick up some pace.
Oh, that's a familiar feeling for Ruler. Flash for flash on the Azir ult, but doesn't get clear. LNG forced the fight, and given that this team has sometimes struggled in the skirmishes and being on the same page, this is a big moment for LNG. JDG on the other side of things, they've been known in this iteration, and when Yagao was last on the team as well in 2022, to be a bit of a slow-burning team where they need to eventually come around to winning fights. This isn't their winning fight. They really disrespect the fact that Kanavi has used his big combo. He can't counter-engage at this point. And the Tahm Kench, even with something like the tankier items and getting more gold income, is not tanky enough to be the defensive front line. He dies before he can even use the Devour.
Yeah, it's just really good kind of target selection and recognition from LNG to say, yeah, we got time, we got position, and oh, Yagao, you've no flash. You do not have a Buster Shot right now, and you are going to be going down almost instantaneously, you imagine, as soon as they jump in. Yep, they're going to donate it over to the Bank of Scout. And I mean, this is LNG picking up the pace right now. JDG, yes, they had the early game going for them with the objectives, but now with this gold kind of starting to eke up back in LNG's favor, you have to be very wary of who's getting that gold.
Yeah, Scout getting gold and getting side lane turrets, that's really dangerous to the side of JDG, because it feels like if you don't catch both the Xayah and the Azir, things are going to go pretty poorly for you. You are not a particularly tanky team towards the both of them in their ability to kill front lines. JDG had done an awesome job of keeping WeiWei out of the game too. In the early phases of it, that's no longer the case. He's managed to get himself onto the map and get himself involved in multiple plays now. JDG, how are they looking to stabilize this? They've started off by moving the Senekar Tahm Kench into the mid lane. They don't have flashes on either of them. They do have the Devour, but they make no mistake, that's not necessarily the safest bot lane that they could have right now, given the amount of LNGs engaged.
Do you think going forward, if we continue to see the Azir shuffle catching Ruler with the flash, that it just becomes a ban? They just don't allow it to happen anymore because regardless of how OP or not.
I thought you were going towards I thought you were going towards, you know how players have names, moves named after them. You know, we have the Insect, we have the Messiah, we have the Captain Jack. How painful would it be for Ruler, one of the greatest players of all time, have a negative play kind of named after him? That'd be an awkward moment.
You just got rulered.
Well, I mean, it's iconic enough that people will recognize it for the play. In my own way, I really hope it doesn't, because oh my god, he's one of the greatest carries of all time. But the problem is, that's not exactly how fairness works in kind of language, right? It's what the references people recognize are.
Yeah, it is. It is what people associate with it, and we'll see. I'm not going to be calling it Get Rulers anytime soon, to be perfectly honest. I feel like a little BM to be throwing that at one of possibly, obviously not the greatest player of League of Legends ever, but possibly the second greatest as we come into...
he's on the list somewhere. Pretty close to the top.
Definitely on the list, somewhere at the top, but arguments pending. But 2,000 gold now is the lead here for LNG, as JDG want to try and take a couple of towers in response to the separation of LNG. JDG now just pushing and being a bit more of a nuisance. They aren't going to be able to get much else from this, but still, breaking up with that mid lane turret always feels good. Minute and a half until Dragon spawns.
So, Dragon fight on the table, as you were saying. You can see that there's actually a deep pink ward from LNG right back into the red side jungle of JDG. I wonder if JDG would prefer to just wait and hang fire until a better moment and See if they don't have to fight at this time span. They're only 1,000 gold behind. It's not the worst thing ever. But it feels like without the flash and ruler and missing, this could be a pretty awkward fight to deal with the amount of engage that LNG could throw at them.
They should have the flashes back, though, by the time this 50-second timer runs out, so they might still feel like they can go for it. Of course, some of the Infernal Rifts changes, get all that plumage coming out from the Infernal Dragon, so you get an extra little bit of ability haste. Yes. But see what they want to go for right now. Both teams happy with the way they're set up. Going to have 1.5 items pretty much across the board. Actually, oh, yeah, almost exclusively across the board. We'll see what they can make going. So how do you want to approach this right now as JDG? How do you want to try and make this dragon your stack?
So this is the important thing. This is the very important thing, the vision control. They've missed this ward. That's important. They don't have an Umbral Glaive on the center as well. It's gone towards the Ghost Blade for more mobility. That movement speed could save them in a clutch moment, but the amount of information you lose from not going the Umbral obviously can help hurt them at points. So good pink ward coverage by JDG, hasn't completely covered things out. Zika's changed over to the exhaust. Let's see how much LNG can do in terms of picking their fights correctly.
Yeah, an Unsealed Spellbook does give an exhaust over to LNG. Everyone's got flashes now up and available. All fights there. Yagao gets 1v1 to the top side, which means the TP can come in
and he's
unperturbed.
Teleporting.
They can turn and burn for the fight. The flashes that just came back up are now burned. They don't care about the center. Ruler is running for the hills because he knows it's a lost fight. 3 kills for none traded over. LNG, they are starting to really look like they're comfortable in this game.
Scout assassinates Yagao in the top lane, and this is the player which LNG have needed to wake up well and truly into the split. We knew there was more for him to give. He's one of the best players in the LPL. Takes a huge play on topside. He was given a lot of resources before this play too. He wins his team the overall fight here too by taking away one of the threats, teleporting back in. Now LNG have themselves dragon advantage, gold advantage, and this is how it started. He lies in wait, he has a teleport if nothing happens in this top side, but goes through it all the same, gets so many tower shots onto Yagao by clearing the wave under it, comes back into the play, and JDG are blindsided.
Yeah, I mean, this is just a fantastically orchestrated fight coming out from LNG. The fact that they get that play from Scout means that they are in full confidence to go, we can fight this, we can go forward. And like you saw, like JDG just had to run. They didn't have a choice. At that point, the fight is already lost because you know the Azir is coming. Regardless if he has ult or not, he is going to be a threat. So really, really well done here by the side of LNG. They get themselves the second dragon, they get control around the map, and they are really starting to ramp up. I mean, JDG, they look a little lost in this composition. Like, they don't really know exactly how they want to try and go for it. And I got to call a spade a spade. Yagao has had an off game.
Yeah, he's really not in the best position. I think Flandre has also been struggling as well. Not necessarily by his own fault. They are close enough in gold to mount a fight. It's not like this is game over at this point. You need to see Kanavi find a window of time to engage before LNG can get their pieces in position as well. As LNG have been pulling the trigger first, if you can get all of the ultimates layered in the same spot, that is the golden moment from JDG. They can very much look for a turnaround fight.
Flandre is going to get knocked up. We'll take the tower afterwards, so nice little bit of gold going back over to them, but here comes Gala. And finally, that exhaust gets used. There is absolutely no escape here for Flandre. He recognizes this, not going to flash, not going to do anything else, just going to burn down the wave. And that's going to be Gala with his 3rd kill of the game. Look at the kill distribution here for LNG. 3-1-2 on the Azir, 3-0-2 on the Zaya. These are big late game carries that are getting some big fat wallets very early in the mid game.
That's a good point to bring up because those carries, if their team manages to find the engage, are going to make the fight very, very short. Scout has flash and he's looking for it again.
He's looking for it again, but yeah, Ruler's trying to help out his buddy, but there's just not a lot you can do. The redemption comes down to make sure Scout's not going down, and Kanavi is going to fall as well. That's going to be 2 quick kills. You imagine that's going to be the Baron as well, with the Shurima Legacy down to cover the wave. I mean, LNG, this is crisp coming out for them in game number 1.
That it is. And you know, last year Scout had a record-breaking amount of player of the games. I think he's hunting for one of his very first in this year. I believe it might even be his first. Haven't quite checked that one out, but it's been a fantastic game from him on the Azir, his most played champion of all time by a very, very long margin. And JDG, they have been a little bit lackadaisical in how they've approached these fights. They've kind of ambled like a pedestrian into some of these fights. They're kind of sticking around too long here. Are they fighting for vision control? Are they looking for a fight? Well, they're not really looking for either, and they get picked off on the other side of it. Kanavi can't help either. JDG, they're just so far behind in the setup looking for these plays. LNG are always the more decisive team.
Yeah, again, I like that you said that they're behind in the setup. They're not behind in terms of the gold. You look at the way the map is set up, despite it being 10 kills to none, it's only a 3,000 gold lead. It's not unassailable. It's not as if they're miles and you know, hundreds of thousands of meters away from actually getting back into this. But you look at where that gold is. It's 2.5 items, nearly 3 for the Azir. It's 2.5 items for the Xayah, now picking up the ornaments. These are the key factors that are going to make this game so much harder. And, you know, Asena's fantastic in the late game, but you got to get there.
So, and the way that you're gonna struggle to get there is if you don't have vision control. They're trying to place wards and they're caught for placing wards.
Yeah, they're trying to see if they get something there, but you have to commit so much. Devour, Magnet Storm, so much utilized there just to defend yourself. Missing goes forward, but he's not going to catch anything except potentially his own death. And Gala's just free hitting on the bot side. They got a tower. He's now moving up towards this inhibitor turret. So, this is 25 minutes. They have to use the equalizer just to make sure this turret doesn't die.
But the reason they have to do that is because Zika's ult just came back up on the Ornn as well. They can't even stand underneath their turret. They're afraid of the dive. They don't have some big ultimates now to play around. LNG, they're holding a knife to the back of JDG and saying, if you walk up to your turret, this sinks in.
Yeah, and look, they're going to go for it now. That knife is poised to go right into the back of JDG. They're getting some decent damage down, though. Back onto LNG, and they are going to take that inhibitor. Nobody goes down. Everyone just trading a little bit of health bars. But that first item, Redemption, we never really got to talk about it from Mark. Really coming in clutch right now. And, I mean, you normally would look at this point for a TP flank. You'd look for something to go for. But it's Tristana. It's not really an assassin. It's not a setup for a fight. You can't really go for those kind of TP plays.
And then you're looking at, well, okay, if you can't get the teleport, how else are you getting into the fight? Well, of course, you're looking at Kanavi, and then you're looking at the big ultimates layered over the top of it. LNG have given JDG zero chance to pull the trigger there. They're the ones which are engaging first, and even if JDG were to make a big play, there's every chance that Scout shuffles you out, or Gala gets a big ultimate too. It is so hard from this position for JDG to play the game. I wonder if it would have been more wise for them to play towards a bit more of a slow game, not give over so many of these fights at objectives. You could have left them a little longer, wait until you had a better option. Maybe if you pushed out a side lane and got vision control and branched off of that, that could have worked better. That hasn't been the case, and JDG, they've played some sloppy early games before. LNG, they have very much punished that.
For sure. Now you got yourself Soul Point. 6 towers to 4. Still doing well on that. He's got himself some Void Grubs as well. It is not a perfect game by any metric coming in here from LNG, but it is definitely close to one considering where we put them. 3 items this time around onto Flandre, so he's got some decent damage if he can just get it on the right targets. It's going to be 4 Frozen Hearts in total between both teams, which is kind of nutty to think about. But it's the item of choice for now between these two teams as we wait to see where this fight can really go for Mark. He's going to have the TP coming in here from Scout. They look for a full engage. They want everyone and everything. It's a good chokehold here for this ultimate, though. And you can't just sit there and fight on top of the equalizer. They are still burning down. You can see Ruler off to the side, nicely just separated from the rest of this fight, still putting in DPS. Flandre is in a little bit of trouble. He's in a lot of trouble, and he is dead. Now Scout's in the base. He needs to get out of here, though. Still putting in work into Ruler, who has to flash away. Scout gets jumped on, but missing, and Yagao just can't finish him off. Now Yagao running for his life. This could be the game right here, right now. They're TPing in Nymera.
And hands up, who's missed this version of Scout? I have, you have, I think everyone has. He is back. Scout with a magnificent game 1 to lead LNG to victory.
Gives up his life right at the end because he was having fun, but that was a magnificent display from Scout on the Azir. I mean, look, if there was ever, a need,
can you give it us another 5 seconds?
I was gonna say, if there was ever an example of a caster curse, that was it. That was exactly what it was. But it was just a great display from LNG. Like LNG wiped the floor with them. There's no other way to put it. JDG didn't really put up a fight at all.
There was a brief moment in the early game where it looked like WeiWei was getting spotted on everything which you did. Great start, pushing lanes, but the transition away from the first few clears into the first fights of the game went absolutely poorly from JDG. They